So what's up, guys? This is Himanshu, and that is,
Ishan Savant.
and we are here with another topic. Mainly, we will be discussing on movies and if how they undergo how they have undergone evolution through these years.
Start with horror first. Okay. Uh, do you want to
So,
start, Himanshu?
no, you can start.
Okay. So the horror movie which I have picked is Recording. Okay. So it is
Which movie?
actually sorry.
Which
It is
movie?
a rec. Means
Okay.
as you see in video cameras, you see at the corner recording, right? REC.
Hmm.
So that's the uh, movie name. So it's not Hollywood movie. It's I think it's a Spanish movie.
Okay.
So so in this movie they show you everything through a point of view. Okay, so there's a cameraman and there's a reporter, and they go through a house in which there are people, so, which are sort of like zombies. Okay, so they don't really know, but in the end it comes up and everything starts to make sense. And what's interesting is that they have tried to blend zombies with ghosts. Like uh, in the movie we see that now in common movies we see that zombies don't we don't put a cross towards them, right? They will come eat us.
Yes.
But in this one we see a mixture of both of them, and it's quite scary, to be honest. So okay, so that's it from my side. Now you
So,
tell your horror
if
movie.
you watched the movie, the name was The Grudge, I think. Have you watched it?
Yeah, yeah. There are
So,
so many parts of it.
that movie is actually based on that it's like the people who is seeing the ghost, other people are not believing him. Okay, so that's the common story, and that person is considered as mad. Okay,
Okay.
so unless and until that person's die, the other people are not able to see that ghost.
Sorry to interrupt, but there was also one movie called The Ring. No, I confused between
Yeah.
both of them. So are they connected, or
No, no, they're
both
different.
are different?
They're,
Okay, okay.
the Grudge Part One is, I think, a very old movie. It was
Okay.
released in 2000s or something.
I think it's inspired by some Japanese
Yes,
ghosts, I think.
the
Yeah.
Grudge. It's actually based on some rituals and experiments that happened on people and what were the
Now
here.
we'll be going to the next genre, which is comedy.
Yes.
Uh,
So I recently watched a movie. The name was Yes Man. Okay,
yes.
YES Man. So that movie is actually based on a person does not say yes to all the things. He actually always say no to all the things. Like for example, his friends are calling him for a party. He says no. And he says no to everything. Okay, so gradually what happens is that he came across a old person, yeah, and he tells him to say yes to everything and
Yeah.
see how his life changes. So he actually gradually starts saying yes to everything, and initially he faces a little bit difficulty, like he gives lift to a beggar and etc. And that beggar actually steals his money, etc. All actually he gives his money on his own to the beggar because he cannot say no. Okay, so that all things happen. But
Yeah,
eventually,
that's an interesting concept to keep on saying yes to everything.
so
Yeah.
but gradually it works out well for him, and in the end, the ending is like that like the old man again comes to him and he tells him that he should say yes to all the things that matter to him the most, and he should take a look
Yeah.
at the things to what he should say yes.
Yeah, nice.
That was a funny
Uh,
movie.
it's funny that you mentioned Yes Man, because the my favorite movie of
Mm.
comedy genre is made by the same actor, Jim Carrey, and
Okay.
it's called Bruce Almighty. Uh,
Okay.
so
I've
in
not watched
this
the movie.
movie, yeah, in this movie, what happens is that this guy is against the main hero. He's against God and he doesn't believe in him,
Okay.
and uh, and he's desperate in his life and such things. So what happens is that God himself comes and what what he does is that he gives him the powers
Mm.
and tells him
Okay.
to work. Okay, so you do my job, that kind of
Okay.
thing.
There was a
And
Hindi movie also. There was a Hindi counterpart of that also. God Tulsi Great. Oh, I think was that movie.
yeah, I think yeah. I think it might be
That,
inspired by this one, yeah. So yeah, and so it's kind of shows us what power does to a man, and
yes,
but in the end again, it's all happy, and things work out, and he understands the about the work the God does and
yes,
other things. Yeah, sir. Yeah, one thing I wanted to say that it's quite difficult to see comedy movies, get high rating.
yes.
So,
That's
what
problem.
what do you think is the reason behind this?
Actually, most of the comedy movies don't have a a real storyline which one can
Yeah,
follow. It's random kind of thing.
yeah,
For example, you have seen that movie, Welcome. That was a Hindi movie.
yes, yes,
So it just has a random story plot. It is not actually it is not based on a particular plot, but it is actually funny. So actually, the most of the comedy movies are like um, touching up random topics and anything.
yeah.
Happening.
It's quite tough to introduce story in making funny things,
Yeah,
right?
comedy movie cannot be having an interesting plot. So
Yeah,
they have
yeah,
that.
that's true. Now we'll go to the thriller movies, and we'll see which
Okay,
one's
better.
interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'll start. Okay.
Okay.
So my favorite kind of thriller movie is that is Memories of Murder. Okay. So it is actually a South Korean movie, and I had watched it
You watch a
quite
variety
recently.
of South Korean to
Yeah.
get
Yeah. So, so actually, this movie is a true story. Okay, Memories of Murder, and it shows about. It's quite gory if you see. Yeah, it's quite disturbing. Not gory. It's quite disturbing, but they don't show the stuff. So yeah, the main plot is that the in the town there are a lot of rape cases happening.
okay.
It's a small town,
Hmm.
and there had not been such crimes before. Okay,
Okay.
and so a detective from the same town and another detective from another town, they both like get together to solve the mystery, and in that way. So but I cannot spoil it for you because it's quite uh,
Okay.
what it's it the climax comes as a surprise. You won't think this would have happened, and so it's quite thrilling movie, and it's quite gripping. You
What was
don't
the
get
movie's
bored if
name?
you watch it. It's called Memories of Murder. Okay, yeah. So I suggest you also watch it. It's quite
There was
interesting.
another movie that I watched with my cousins. I remember. It was The Woman in Black Dress or something. I don't quite remember. Do you
I
remember
think
that?
it's of Daniel Radcliffe, right? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've not seen it, but I wanted
It
to see.
was okayish movie, but the ending was good because actually what happens that there's a ghost in form of a woman, and whenever she sees a person, the person actually dies due to some or another thing, like poisoning or car accident within 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
that's what happened, and in the ending, what happens is that Daniel Radcliffe's son actually sees that woman. So he
Okay.
also dies, but in order to save him, Daniel Radcliffe also jumps in front of train. So he also dies in the end. That's what
Oh
happens.
shit.
And in the end, what
So
happens is that
you just ruined the movie for all our viewers right now.
okay, I'm telling you
Sorry.
what happened.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was clever. So what happens in the end is that that woman is actually like pacing like here for a moment, and then she suddenly sees towards the audience that are sitting in that screen.
Oh
For
shit.
example, next are you.
I just got goosebumps, right now. Yeah, that's quite chilling if you see. Okay, and uh, just like she sees towards the audience, the movie Memories of Murder, there's also one scene in which he just breaks the fourth wall and looks right through the audience. So, yeah, it's quite
Such kind of
interesting
movies
and
are really
it's
interesting.
spine chilling. Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Like,
so let's start with sci-fi now, and
yeah.
I quite like this genre quite a lot, and I think you might also
There's a new
like.
movie coming, of Christopher Nolan, Tenet. You totally
Shit, man.
understand.
Yeah. He's like the leader, like right now, to make interesting sci-fi
His,
movies. You know?
his concept is, really different.
Yeah.
Have you watched the new trailer of Tenet?
Yeah. New trailer. I've watched both of them,
Okay.
but have you watched the breakdown of the trailers? You know,
No, why would I would?
because there's a guy, YouTube on YouTube. His name is Eric Voss. So he kind of breaks down all the stuff that would happen and the storyline through
There's
by
something
watching just the trailer.
like a thing which is about to happen has already left his impression there. So there's something like this in that movie. I watched the trailer when I watched the trailer.
Okay, yeah, and so should I say what I saw in the breakdown video?
No,
Like, okay, okay. So let's start with our movies. Okay, uh, what's your favorite sci-fi movie?
sci-fi. Okay. So I watched Inception and that was like extraordinary, but I'm not sure that we can classify that as sci-fi. So Inception was really good.
Oh, yeah, Inception. Yeah, they put it in the genre of sci-fi, but yeah, it was quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, and other movies of course Interstellar. Interstellar was really good. It was thrilling also. Have you watched it?
How many times have you watched it?
Oh, many times.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't understand it in the first time, and it is actually based on real science facts. Okay, there's nothing like fakeism there. So
Yeah.
it is based on reality. So you
True.
have
True.
to first learn science for it, then go watch.
Yeah. And if you have seen that every time you watch a Christopher Nolan movie, you learn something new, even
Yes,
if it's
his
your second
concept,
time, third time.
his
Yeah,
concept is really good.
yeah. And okay, so my favorite movie is, of course, Christopher Nolan movies are quite great,
Yes.
but my favorite movie is Blade Runner 2049.
So
Okay,
I've not watched that
so
movie.
uh, so the concept is quite good, and it's not fiction. If you see in the upcoming years, like if we develop that technology, it's quite doable. Whereas if you see like going into the wormhole and other things,
What
so
was the
those are
concept of the
just
movie?
theories. Okay, so in Blade Runner, what is the concept is that so people they started making replicants. Okay, so the
Oh,
replicants are like humans, but they are clones. They are made to do work. Okay, and such things. Okay, and what happens is that there's a case that a replicant has been pregnant. So replicants are not supposed to be pregnant. They are supposed to work. Okay,
oh,
so all the movie works on the plot and who is the actual baby, who was the child that was born, and it kind of confuses us between who is a replicant, who is a human, and it kind of questions the
that's what.
fact that what makes us human.
Hmm,
So it's quite thought provoking and it's
hmm,
quite great movie to watch. Yeah.
hmm.
So let's go to the next genre,
Okay,
and I would like to start with mysteries.
mystery. Okay.
So take your time, think about which
Okay.
mystery you have watched recently.
I've not watched any mystery movie recently. So I should watch.
Scooby Doo.
Ah, that was that movie I
Scooby Doo
watched.
was a childhood favorite.
In fact, I
You know.
watched a movie. It was based on Alan Turing. Do you know that?
Yeah, but I've not watched it. It was Imitation Game, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
that was good movie.
yeah. So, it's the mystery of solving the enigma in it.
Yes,
That was the case, I
that
think.
was.
Yeah, yeah. And my favorite one was Mind Hunters. There's two. Okay, so Mind Hunters and Identity. Okay, so in this both of these movies have the same kind of scenarios, but they are quite different. So in the first in Mind Hunters, if you see, so there's a group of psychiatrists. Okay, so they study criminals, they study their patterns, what they do, what they don't do, and such things. Okay, so they are in a test right now, and they have been to a planet. Sorry, they have been to a mountain. They are in a mountain and they are isolated totally. Okay, and things start to stir up when there's a killer or between them, among them, and they have to find out who is. So it's quite scary also, and the twists are superb. That it
Yeah.
confuses the hell out of us.
Which movie was that? Which
It
one?
was Mind Hunters, and in Identity it's the same thing, but it's kind of different at the end. So same plot, like many people and one killer, and the story revolves around this concept. So it's both are quite fun to watch and quite mysterious.
I've not watched any mystery movie recently, so I don't remember anything else.
Yeah, uh, I think there are quite lot less mystery movies because almost every concept has been taken. Like who is the
There was a
whenever.
new movie, The Invisible Man. I was
Yeah, yeah.
planning to watch that, but I didn't.
I had watched its VFX breakdown on YouTube, how they made the man
Did you watch
invisible.
Breakdown?
Yeah, I love to watch breakdown. And yeah, so as I was saying that almost every time there's a mystery, there's a murder, and people have to find out who did it. And so I think it's quite narrowed down to how the mystery will actually go. So it's quite predictable for most of us to see the things that happen. Like we can understand he might be the killer, he might be the killer. So the twists, to introduce the twists in the movie is quite tough, as we have already seen so many of them uh, to the audience. Yeah. Okay, and so that's quite tough to introduce mystery movies nowadays. Yeah. Okay. So let's start with drama.
Breakdown.
Okay. Yeah.
That movie was really good. Whiplash. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh shit!
that was.
I totally forgot that movie, man. Yeah.
It can be
It's
classified as drama also. It was drama actually.
yeah. It was
But
drama also. Yeah. It was drama only, na?
the
Right?
movie was really good. The concept was completely different, and it actually showed us what we need to give up in order to achieve something.
Yeah. So like career and work life, it was showing that. Yeah. And it was quite inspirational.
Yeah.
So like I had watched it during my JE times, and I was like instantly motivated to I could do any other book, solve any other problem, and
Right.
such. Yeah, and so my favorite movies are like Silver Linings Playbook. So it's actually a rom-com, romantic comedy, and so the story, and it's quite, they don't bore you with means if you see many dramas, they have quite slow moving things. Okay, so I know that it's to show sadness, it's to show the real time, but in Silver Linings Playbook, they work with emotions quite well, and you really like the characters that are playing that are working the scenes. So it's quite amazing to watch. And also I recently watched another movie. It was The Last Flag Flying. Okay, so
How many movies do you watch?
so in the movie, like there are three marines, and they have to go to bury their so one marine guy, he has lost his son. So he meets his friends, and they have to pick up his son's body, and they have to bury him. So they show the whole story of what obstacles they have to overcome, and all the life decisions, the emotional decisions the people have to take. So it was quite interesting to watch the movie. Yeah.
So I actually watched. Do you watch? Series like any series?
I
Watch.
yeah, I don't watch so many series, but yeah,
I
you can
watched
tell me.
Stranger Things. I completed all the three seasons, and it was like
Okay.
mystery thriller, and it was really good. Like for example, before sleeping, you will always remember what you watched in that series. So it was like
Oh,
mystery.
cool. Yeah, and such kind of things, like that's what makes cinema good. Like you remember the
Stranger
scenes,
Things
you
is
start
actually,
remembering stuff.
based on that. Our room is not as we. It's not what we see. Okay, like in our room there is a different dimensions and reality. And uh, yeah,
Oh,
yes,
is that in the series?
yes, there was in the series that,
Oh,
for example,
okay.
the wall, beyond that wall there is something else, and there is something between the wall and something like that.
Sounds like Narnia to me. Have you
But
seen?
it's not much more interesting.
Yeah. So, Narnia, there
No, no,
was a closet, you know.
you have not
Yeah.
watched Harry Potter yet.
So,
Why? Everyone watches.
I I think everyone tells me to watch, and I don't like that. That's why I
But you
guess.
should watch it.
Yeah. Have
But
you
the
read Harry Potter?
I have seen Harry Potter from my childhood. But the
Okay.
movie, the storyline is the best I've ever came across. There cannot be better storyline than that.
Okay. Nice.
Yes,
And
okay.
so yeah, I wanted to say like so if you suppose if you grow up, okay,
Okay.
and if you are about 30 or some, so would you watch Harry Potter again?
Yes, already.
Okay. So that's a true Potterhead right there. Okay, okay.
Harry Potter is really good. Should watch it.
Sometimes, like I don't like how they over fictionalize things. Have you seen Hobbit or A Lord of the
I have
Rings?
seen that. But it's all
Yeah.
about the storyline. You just see the storyline in these 7 to 8 movies, and it will be really good. You
Okay.
the movie actually forces you to actually, for example, you are in the third movie, then the movie forces you to think about the first movie. All the movies are connected in some way. So
Okay.
that's really good.
Nice, nice. So yeah, storyline matters.
Yeah. Storyline is really good.
Cool.